please sit down. And I would like someone to give me a summary of what they have learned so far today. Rukmini? Stand up.
First of all, we learnt about the lineage and how the Grand Master and Maharaj and yourself came into Samata Yoga and what the lineage stood for. We also looked at what Samata Samashti Dharma actually means and how that sort of can be brought into daily life. We also then looked at good and evil and also how we are all connected, interconnectedness of all things, and then we did an exercise where the upshot of it was, just to paraphrase, was that it's desire that's at the root of everything, and that causes the conflict in ourselves, and that in order to work around that, in order to master that, we have to go inside ourselves. It comes from within, and we have to build up strength from within through the practices of meditation, and then we went on further and looked at more practices in order to help us sustain our strength. And we looked at the yamas and the niyamas, Patanjali's 8 limbs. And you also taught us some mudras. Oh, and that's also we did at the beginning as well. We learned some mudras, which are psychic expressions, I guess. Is that
Of attitude.
of attitude?
Wonderful.
And I just did a namaste.
To cap it off. And what's your name?
Marlene.
Marlene, have I met you before, Marlene?
I've seen you at the chant
All right.
session.
All right. No. And what has this course so far given you?
I think
about this morning?
reaffirming what I already was aware of to a certain degree, especially with Maya and the 3 levels and soul, astral, etc., physical, and taking that hopefully a step forward for people. And yeah, just reiterating where this is all coming from, where the yoga is coming from, perhaps clearing some confusion that I have with it.
Good on you. So I guess that all of you have really learned something so far, and we're only halfway through the first day of our 2-day seminar. And so all of you must feel that you are not the same vibration that you were at 10 o'clock this morning, I would say. You're much different because you've learned so much. But now we have a look at the yogas. And a lot of people say, oh, what yoga are you again? And it's very difficult when you say Raj Yoga. They say, oh yeah, Is that like Hatha, is it? And no one really understands the yogas. So we have Raj Yoga, which we call the king of yogas, right? Giving us to understand what Raj Yoga is about, we have to see what makes up Raj Yoga. We can say, yes, Raj Yoga was taught only to the kings. We also hear in the scriptures where we read about King Janaka and how he sort of went off when he was you know, at the end of his life, probably 50-something, and off he trotted into the forest, and the Guru gave him the okay, and he led this wonderful spiritual life until he died and became a realised being, apparently at death or something. So, but we also have to know about the other yogas. So one of those yogas is karma yoga. Can anyone tell me what, without looking at the book, what karma yoga is about? Okay. Karma yoga is the first yoga. Karma is action, isn't it? You know, through action, through deeds. Finding ourselves and finding, you know, that God consciousness within us through deeds. Naturally, they've got to be good ones. But this is then through an action of deeds. Now, what have I got written down here? Oh, that was a bit heavy. Merging disciplines to facilitate Raj yoga. Oh. Yoga, of course, comes from the word to join or to yoke. And I think it's Y-U-K was the Sanskrit. That doesn't look too good. Yak. Was it yak or was it yak? Y-U-J, I think it was. Yeah. And it means, yoga means to join. So naturally, if you're doing Raj Yoga, you would think if that's the king of yogas, then does it join with any other yoga? Yes, it does. And we will see how that helps us in our daily life. So that every thought, word of and action is actually Raj Yoga. It's the path we're going on. We say that Mahatma Gandhi and Buddha, well, Buddha was a karma yogi. And we know also Mahatma Gandhi was because it was through his action that he attained enlightenment, not actually through the study of books and such. And then there's Hatha Yoga. And this Hatha, we'll just put deeds. We'll put this deeds because you understand that better in deeds. Now Hatha Yoga is of course through disciplines. Hatha Yoga is disciplines and balance. The aim of Hatha Yoga, which is through exercises, is to balance the energies and balance the left and right side of the brain. Therefore, if you go to a Hatha Yoga class and you become terribly frustrated because when you walk into the class, the teacher says, up in the headstand, and everyone shoots up in front of you and you're sitting there looking like some lame duck and thinks, my God, I wish I was dead or I wish I was somewhere else because I'm so upset. This is not Hatha Yoga because Hatha Yoga should bring to the student balance and harmony. And it is ha plus da. Sun and moon, like your yin and yang. So the hatha is hatha, and hatha is the balance of the feminine and masculine principle within you, which comes all the time at the time when the Kundalini is unleashed. It also has these two energies merging together, the ha and the tha, the ida and pingala. All right, so that's your hatha. So that's the exercise part of yoga.
So is Iyengar a type of Hatha Yoga?
It is pure. Well, it's Iyengar's idea of what Hatha Yoga is about. Because you're not supposed to use any aids, because to balance your body should be with your own energy, your body and mind, to balance it, not using chairs and aids and like this Pilates. The next one we come across on this path is bhakti. Does anyone know what bhakti is? Love. Love and devotion. That's right. Now, love and devotion is not going around saying, oh, you know, give me a huggy because lovey. really don't like that. So, what this is love and devotion to God. The extreme of this is some devotees, that I won't mention, who carry a couple of statues around, and this is when I was thought not to be judgmental, many years ago, and they looked after them like it was their children. Put them to bed, give them a bath, dress them, all the rest of it. And each to his own. And then I had grew up a bit in the yoga and had devotees visiting me for darshan, and this fellow was sitting there and they're all talking how devoted they all are, and this fellow said to me, my wife is very devoted. Still I'm thinking, don't be judgmental, be quiet. She is always bathing the statue, putting it to bed. She thinks it's like her own child. I said, oh, that's very nice. So spiritual she is. And then I couldn't help my mouth. So I said, well, why isn't she here and not you? Well, no, because he was the man. He should be coming in because she's doing the spiritual things. He's just coming in here to have the darshan with the guru. Doesn't do anything else. So I don't know if that is each to his own, I guess. That's not my way of doing it. But if we have to believe that universal consciousness is unconditional love, then we must go through the bhakti yoga so that we may find unconditional love. Because the essence of bhakti yoga is the unconditional love. And I always think you have to have a physical love of some way, shape or form to be able to understand when the time comes this unconditional love. Because it is supreme. I can't, it just, some people will chant until they're sort of aesthetic. Wasn't it Teresa of Avila, who used to swoon with love of God?
No, that's Teresa, the little flower.
You?
Lucia, yeah.
That's right, I knew it was Teresa or something. Sorry about that. But she used to swoon with love of God. That was her unconditional love of God. And in the Inquisition, she was during the Inquisition, and she had to really fight against that, her supreme love of God, her great bhakti to keep out of the Inquisitor's hands. Is that right?
Yeah.
That much I knew. I couldn't get the right Teresa. So then we have yantra. Does anyone know what yantra yoga is?
Is it from the Ganesha yantra?
What's that? It's a yantra. So through symbols, vision and form, such as those practiced in northern India and Tibet, is also trying to visualize your God and then concentrating on that particular form to increase your one-pointed concentration. So you need to have form and vision for this, for yantra yoga. And the next bit of it, the part, is mantra yoga. What's mantra yoga? Sound. Sound. And then we have Laya and Kundalini. It's known that the rishis in a lot of places in India teach pure Kundalini yoga to raise the Kundalini. Do you know what the Kundalini is? Okay. Life force energy, correct. But it's life force of the soul, not the person. And that's why you shouldn't be fiddling around with Kundalini energy. Although Kundalini energy is part of Raj Yoga, so the Kundalini energy will rise. All of you, your Kundalini has already risen a little bit just being here today. Interesting, isn't it? what the teacher will do, it'll go down again probably as you go home and start cooking your dinner. But anyway, it went up a little bit while you were here. It's very good to have the Kundalini raised little bit by little bit by little bit, instead of having it raised all the way up, bang, crash. If that happens, you're either dead or your brain, some of your brain is burnt out. Kundalini does rise when you die. I had a man sent to me by the doctors a few years ago who had this Kundalini experience by going to India, living in a cave with some rishis, and his Kundalini was raised because he was doing Kundalini yoga. And the doctor saying to me, I said, what can I do if this fellow has gone and done something like that? I told him, go to your rishis and tell them that your life is miserable, you can't get a job, you can't think straight, you can't remember anything. Go and tell them about it. You can't tell me about it because I can sometimes help, but you're in a bit of a mess. He asked them and they said to him, you should be joyful that your Kundalini has raised. Although he couldn't think straight, he couldn't remember, he couldn't hold a job, it was absolutely a bit of a blob by the time it had all done. Because if your Kundalini is not ready to rise, it should not rise. So if you go around playing with little things to raise the Kundalini, it won't do you any good at all. There is a story in the scriptures where this fellow, he was the joker in the court of King Janaka. What else? And so he's sort of jumping around, he's going, look at me, 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 into such a trance, look at me, look at me, look at me. And then he swooned and went down. He's in a trance state, his Kundalini has risen. How wonderful. So they all brought flowers and they all dropped the holy stuff on him and they got the agabati out going and they're all pranaming. The priests come around and they had this Janaka's jokers, sect going on pretty well. But after about a year, he woke up and said, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. So it doesn't matter, his Kundalini went off. And when it did, he was a fool. And when it came back, he was still a fool. If your Kundalini raises and you bring it back, you are no longer a fool, but you're no longer the same as everybody else. Understand? Then you are realized God really. So, and let me tell you, they tell you that it goes from here up, goes beneath the feet up, the Kundalini. It does not rise from here up. And it doesn't go here either. People say, oh, my Kundalini has risen, it's gone up. Nothing to do with the front part or the back. The Kundalini will go through the spine. So that we have that layer of Kundalini energy, and it's better for you to be in control or for your teacher to have your welfare in mind, and you slowly develop so the Kundalini raises up and is stable. Remember those foundations? It's all to do with that. Rises up and becomes stable. Up and becomes stable. So at any time, the Kundalini can rise up and you can bring it back to here or to here. It doesn't need to go all the way down again and then all the way up. You understand that? Mm-hmm. It's just a thing that it's the life force of your soul. If you want to destroy the life force of your soul, well, go ahead, but I don't think much about your evolution, because if the soul is destroyed in that way, or its intellectual capacities and consciousness it will be very slowed down in its evolution. Here we go. The good old tantric yoga. Okay, does anyone know what tantric yoga is? Nowadays you can go away on a tantric yoga weekend. It's better than parents without partners, I believe. So tantric yoga is about sex, isn't it? It's to raise the Kundalini through sex. Also the tantrics, the rishis who look after the tantrics, are the ones who can give you lotions and potions. If you're husband's got a straying eye, then you go to the tantric priests and they'll give you a potion to give him while he's not looking that keeps his eye at home, so he doesn't go straying around everywhere. Or if you want to attract a fellow, they'll give you the potion that you take and the fellow's attracted to you. So this is the real tantrics that happen. Also tantric are into sex and I must say that they're into drugs and all the rest of it. But they will say no here in Australia, but that's what they are into. And it's sometimes it's when these, especially women who are looking for a guru and get themselves talked into going up to some cave in the hills somewhere, in India will find themselves there. So that's the tantrics. It's written down here anyway. Tantric rishis deal in hallucinating drugs and alcohol. So tantric yoga guards its tradition and techniques more than any other yoga. So you actually will not get into there. The Tibetans are tantrics, and you will not get to know their true, unless you're really initiated all the way inside and you are a man, you will not get to know their powerful laws and the ways that they do things. So I've stood on a few people's toes. That's okay. Okay, so we come a little bit further away from that and we come to Jnana Yoga, G-N-A-N-A, and this is the yoga of wisdom. Remember when we sit for meditation, we sit in the pose of Jnana Mudra, which is it's wisdom helping you to understand the difference between illusion and non-illusion, what is and what is not. So this will help you with knowledge, what is and what is not. Sounds a bit double Dutch, but think about that deeply, because now we're coming to higher types of yoga. Jnana begins now. What is and is not. It's like that I saw something and thought it was, but it really wasn't. When I looked at it, it was all right. Last time I was in the ashram, I was given some material to make a suit. And I picked up the material and opened it up and screamed because I saw this big spider on it. Then I thought, be discerning, there are no spiders. What spider would live here? There are no spiders in this ashram. And then I looked at it, it was a bit of cotton, black cotton that was gone on this coloured thing. And I thought, you see, this is illusion. This, my knowledge told me, see knowledge, there's no spiders here. There are rats. But there was no spiders. So here you see, gave me the knowledge to know that what I thought was not. Think about that. How many times do we do it anyway? Don't we? We think, oh, she said this. I know she did. Oh, she really did. But in actual fact, when you think about it, I didn't. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we look at it with a conditioning mind. Now, if I'm talking to you, you're understanding it, but you're understanding it through your conditioning. Not always through what I'm trying to project. Now, it will be with all of you the same thing. But if you stand back and be a little bit more discerning, you know with the knowledge that that couldn't be right, I have misunderstood it. Let me go back and check my papers and my books and see if that really was right. So this is, Jnana is going to help us, you see, knowing what is and what isn't. Then next in our path we have Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is when actually you begin to the point of having to lose your identity. Now, this losing the identity is not to lose your I am, but to use the ego who thinks it is. With me? Well, the ego will say, well, I know more than that, or I'm better than that. At this point in the journey, your ego must mature. I am not of the persuasion that says that your ego must be annihilated. It must mature. So it knows who it is at a particular time, what it is. Because the time will come for all people who are initiated by a guru must be taken back and given back. Because a guru takes you with your vibration for a certain time till they have taught you what you need to be taught to enable you to move on alone. And this moving on alone is when you've reached the very essence of Raj Yoga and can move on alone. Until then, if you're an initiate, the guru will not let you go alone. You see? But when the time comes, must have equipped you to continue on the last phase of your journey, of your evolution alone. So we'll always be good friends, Yamuna, but there'll come a time when...
We've got to go.
Off you go.
Okay.
This Kriya Yoga is quite often, you know how you all of a sudden you'll jump, maybe in Yoga Nidra you'll jump. Well, that's sort of a lower form of Kriya Yoga where you have this sudden movement of energy. But the whole crux of Kriya Yoga is when the energy is strong on all levels and there's a movement on all levels. And some of the movements to enable you in a Kriya Yoga is like they have these sort of beautiful movements like this, and that sort of helps the energies to move as well. What are we doing after this? Tomorrow, remind me tomorrow, I'll give you an exercise that will just teach you how that is. Then we come to Aspaza. Aspaza is the yoga of the uncontradictable. And that is when the scientists agree, Cass, that is the yoga we were talking about before. That's when you knew this of yoga, it's a yogic teaching, and science comes and tells you this is it. There's nothing that contradicts anywhere. It is the pure truth you're coming onto. And that is then, you know, it's pretty fantastic actually when that happens. You feel really, wow, that's really good. It's like the, in the Vedas, it says how many, it measures the distance between the earth and the moon. I think it's in the Rig Veda. It tells you exactly how many feet or something, distance between here and the moon. Now that was written thousands and thousands and thousands of years BC. How could they measure that? They have just measured it 2 years ago, or 3 years ago I think, and I think they're 1 kilometre out. Now nobody knows whether it's in the Vedas are out or the American scientists at NASA are out. But how does that agree, you see? How is that brings together? There's truth in this teaching. It's come together.
Doesn't that cover metaphysics really too? Like in a sound?
I knew there was a word I was looking for. I must have written it somewhere. I've got it. Oh, I have in the first lot for yoga. So this Aspaza yoga is a discipline that will now lead us to our innermost essence. We've become metaphysical when we started here. Because the start of this is when it's becoming metaphysical. See? We've got disciplines, hatha discipline, we've got bhakti, we've got yantra, symbols and sounds, and we've got the kundalini beginning to wake up, the serpent energy beginning to wake up and move, which is the soul thinking, I'm pretty happy about this. Yeah, I think this is good. We call this the wake-up sign. This is when the soul, it's a bit of a wake-up if you're doing this one properly. Not if you go on to then do this. So this is when the soul wakes up and thinks, don't take control of this. What's been happening? What am I doing? It's an interesting phase. Well, there'll be one part of you will be saying, no, I don't like that. The other part will say, I think I think there's something in this. And there'll be a whole change of your attitude. And when that does, your energies change, and I'll tell you what, your complexions change too. Are much more shiny and clear. Okay, then we come to Raj Yoga from Asparta. Raj Yoga then is what? Raj Yoga is all of these yogas together. It's all the yogas. And you thought, oh, I'll go down and have a Bowen treatment. Yeah. I'll go and have an energy works. Hang on a ribbon. I'll go over here and have a massage by Kalash. You thought that had nothing to do with yoga, didn't you? But all of it has to do with this journey and tools and aids to make us come to Raj Yoga. That is what Raj Yoga is. So now, if anyone asked you, what yoga do you do? You know. Get out your book. So Raj Yoga is union by mental and spiritual mastery. And Raj Yoga means that. Therefore, Patanjali told you that the disciplines that we spoke about before were very important. We have to remember that we are all one. We all have the same, we're all going the same journey. Some of us a bit slower than others, some of us perhaps on the different side of the road, but we're all heading in the right direction. And once you put your foot on here, you're responsible. You are heading out of tamas, out of ignorance. Now you've asked the question, what's it all about? And you began a journey of Raj Yoga. Now I was a Hatha Yoga teacher. You see, I hadn't gone anywhere. Hatha Yoga teacher. I was quite good at it actually. I didn't just get the sack for nothing. So, and here, look how far away that was from all this that I was to encompass if I came along the road of Raj Yoga. Very important. So this Raj Yoga, this form of yoga allows the student to master the different layers of the mind and tap into their inner energies. It is based on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Patanjali taught a healthy body and mind were essential for self-realization. That's true. It is the king of yogas. It is the king of yogas when your control over yourself is complete. This is the yoga to take you into the fourth state of consciousness, and that is cosmic consciousness. Has anyone got any queries?
Swami, I first student who went to a Raj Yoga class was purely meditation. That was all they did in the class, which was, hard work if you've never meditated before to go to a class for an hour and meditate. And I'm just interested in, is that still true Raj Yoga, or is it sort of a...
No, it isn't. It's only an aspect.
Yeah, because it's not taking the whole 8 limbs into account.
No. Raj Yoga is not easy because Raj Yoga means that you have to live your life, and each moment of your life and each aspect of it must be part of growth. That's really Raj Yoga. So Raj Yoga, I feel, can never be done by running away from life, because Raj Yoga has to be experienced within life. So you have to see that, you know, if you're having children, part of your experience of Raj Yoga, part of your ability of bhakti, or if you're having a relationship, if you're building a house, if you're buying a house, if you're making a lot of money, if you're not making a lot of money, you see? All these are tools you need for the path, and all of it is Raj Yoga, if you take a little piece out of it, it's not enough. You know, when we have our classes, just our normal everyday classes, our classes are here. They are really not enough for the student to understand Raj Yoga. The student needs to understand all the other things that go with Raj Yoga. Need to know the energy centres, the chakras, the whole lot. How, you know, even with palmistry, how that can be influential. Needs to know with massaging and clearing the meridians, how that is part of it all. And to culminate it all together, to have all that balance together and be master over the body and the mind, then is meditation. And all of meditation is a surrender. And all it is a discovery of yourself until such time as you have mastered the Raj Yoga, and then your soul is the one who eventually will meditate and join with universal consciousness, not you. There's a difference. And eventually, going along this path, you'll have the me and mine. My body. But it's really the lower mind who's saying my body, the immature ego is saying my body. It is not your body. It is the vehicle of your experience, but it's a lot of other entities are in there as well. Like a lot of the bacteria, the cells, the whole lot, they're all in there as well, and they're all consciousness. They have their own consciousness. And then when you come together and you say, I, the I-ness, the absolute essence that we create, which is in one of my books somewhere, the ness, something right?
Yeah.
What is it?
That's in your blue.
In my blue book, Why Am I, which is readily available at the front. So, has anyone got any questions? So we all know that, do we now? There's no problem? Okay, so if I could have...
The hatha is balancing energy as well.
Where have you been? Do you have the toilet while I was talking?
And then the hatha, there's a connection between the hatha and the laya and kundalini yoga. Like, does hatha prepare the meridians and the chakras?
It should if it's done correctly.
And get a balance there.
You should have a balance.
Preparation for their
Yes, it prepares the body. You see, you've got the body, the mind and the soul. If the body is not balanced and is not sort of not doing too good, then it can't move on. It's too weak to move on. There's lots of other things in that karma. See the karma? As you sow, so shall you reap as well. They are deeds, action and reaction. We should put that down there to make you understand. So it's action and reaction. Right? And you'll note that with karma, it's the reaction that's most important. Now you don't need to come along tomorrow because you know that now about karma. But you see, that is all part of it. So if your body isn't balanced, it's no use. Well, there's a thing that's no use, like if you, if something happens to you in the physical, right? It's no use you trying to find it in the mental. You've got to find it in the physical. So you're not up to doing anything in the mental until you're up here. Well, not there. I suppose you could do that in the mental, but up here. So what the hatha does is balance your body, get the energy levels right, gets it all nicely balanced to enable you to continue on the path here. That's why we have, in a class situation, we have exercises, we have breathing, we have yoga nidra, the relaxation, we have the meditation. Because that is the way that we can project to you something that's practical that encompasses all of this as Raj Yoga.
I was keep hesitating asking you that. And that's the tantric trick. But is that?
Aha!
Thanks that I'm noticing.
You thought she was going back to work, didn't you?
Now, is the tantric that we do in the Samata yoga, the control then of the energy?
No, the tantric we don't do in Samata
Well,
yoga. We use brahmachari as a way of, keeping. Tantric is supposed to help you to also keep the vital juices contained. So you're supposed to be able to keep the vital juices contained so that there is no sex. Right? But in some of these, they say you have to have sex with the guru. And that will help you to reach nirvana. It might help the guru to reach nirvana, but it's not going to help you to reach nirvana, right? So what this you could see that as is to contain the vital juices, and you contain the vital juices with pranic energy, because the kundalini energy is sexual energy, because it's it's sexually based, right? And if you were to be be sort of really mindful, instead of being get a bit mindful, say you went into a tram, a lot of people in it. Now if you would just scroll around, 100% of those people will be in the base chakra or lower. They won't be higher. And so that's where they are at sexually. You see, that minds are on sex. But that's not what it's all about.
That's what that's the question. Yeah,
That's
that's
the
my,
question.
that's my question, because you always said we don't do tantra.
We don't.
But yet it is one of the
Why is
steps.
it there?
Because
Why
I
is it
put
part
it
of
there.
this?
I put it there because I feel that that's something you've got to know about. Because on the way there, you will be asked one day to have brahmachari, to have no sex. So it will be put right in your face.
And that's sort of tantric too, to brahmachari.
So it's the opposite.
Oh. So I was thinking it was another,
It's control.
a non-physical side of the tantric. That
I
maybe-
feel I have to put it in. The same as I have to put in kundalini. I never wanted to talk about kundalini before, but people need to know about the kundalini because they might go off and do silly things. So also I've got to talk about the tantric, because Raj encompasses all yogas. So I have to talk about the tantric as well as the kundalini, and I don't even like to talk about the kriya, because people will race off, and I think there's only one teacher in Australia who is actually, I think she's passed away now, she was the only person qualified to teach kriya. So they're really dangerous avenues for me to go along. But I need to go along so that you've got your information from me and you know what it's all about. So that's why it's there. Because it's all part of it. Kriya is pretty dangerous, because what Kriya does, the actual Kriya yoga itself, if you go into it, is where your ego must go. So what in Kriya, what they normally do in the Kriya yoga, on its own, it's dangerous. With everything else, it's not dangerous. So on its own, it actually, these exercises do to lose your total, they break away all your barriers, all your survival barriers, everything. All your responses are taken away, and then they're built back up again.
Is that a little bit similar to what people do when they do that rebirthing?
Oh, that rebirthing is.
Because that sort of sounds...
It sounds the same, but it's not. I've done Kriya yoga, so I know. It's very good. If you've got the right teacher, you can bring you back. But if you can't come back properly, you'll be always under the power of the teacher. And that's not right. So what we want is this sort of Kriya style is for our egos to mature, not dissolve. So Kriya yoga in our instant is when we try to push away all those negative things we do with prana. Remember, we're going to do that later on after MT. When we're going to use the prana to sort of heal and to cleanse. And also Kriya is then that my ego
Who's often been
page 22. And I'm going to ask you to work out, I'm going to write on the board, but I'm going to have Cass as a facilitator here. You can be the facilitator here. And here we'll have the facilitator Amy. Okay? So we just want to set it in there. All right. And can you come out of that group and go into that group over there? All right. Now I want you to look at these yogas. Think about them, because they're all written there and that's all. And tell me, discuss how these yogas work. Like, how they would come together in our daily life. What does Karma Yoga, let me start you off. Okay, so we look at Karma Yoga and we say, now where does that come in? Now if I'm a yogi, where does that come into it? Where does that come into my my life? Birth. That's your birth, that's how you read. Karma. It means your birth. Your incarnation. It sets where you were born, how you were born, the whole lot. So my first answer to the first one is birth. Does that help you? Then you go on to Hatha.
But we saw this as a sort of progression starting from birth, and at one point we thought we could see the levels of the chakras emerging, with the base chakra being the birth and the foundations in our family, and then moving on to the hatha, getting a physical body and taking care of the body and the whole universe that's within the body. Bhakti was sort of made me think of the next chakra, where we started to relate to other people in relationships, but where it grew upon our mother's love, we thought, starting at base again, moving upwards.
What if we didn't have mother's love?
Well, this we also said, what if we don't have mother's love? So we soon moved out quite quickly into relationships with other people, and using that devotion to imagine the unconditional love of the Creator that we were going to be reunited with, which for some of us might start off as mother's love, but not for everybody. Then moving up again, this seems to be moving up in vibration levels. Getting to the yantra, that was where we start to create a state of love by visualization, where we can visualize the teacher or God within our hearts. And it's also where we start to express ourselves through symbols, maybe in writing, or making a picture of something, seeing a form of something, and have that form stand for the goal that we're trying to reach. So that part of that is being able to be taught through symbol as well, that we start to communicate through expressing in a different way from just the primary speech of the lower state. Then we go to mantra, where we're starting to use sound meaningfully in our lives, and so that helps to create one-pointedness as well, and keeps us mindful. We start to practice discernment with sound, to practice silence, and to use sound for vibration. And we use that in, for example, japa walking, or we're starting to replace our thoughts with meaningful sounds, which are also sacred. So it's taking us closer to God, to the goal. then with Leia, we've now recognized that we're on a path, and so we again become more discerning, and we start to take more care of the life force of the soul, and we realize we have one, and start to take care of it. With jhana, we come, the way we practice this in our life, we come to Swami workshops. But whatever it takes to start to create some knowledge that we can use for discernment. While we don't do Kriya Yoga per se, we're looking to mature the ego and to release things we don't need, old ways and old habits, the inauthentic parts of ourselves. So we're starting to mature the ego. And we can do some aspects maybe of Kriya Yoga through some of our hatha practices and, for example, yoga nidra. So just because we're doing yoga, we're actually getting all these bits together. The spasa is to find the uncontradictable, and we decided that we've become more balanced up to this point, and so we're at last getting to the stage where we can recognize the uncontradictable. And with Raj Yoga, just learning living everything we've learned in a more balanced way. So I'm not sure if that's specific enough.
Very good. You're going to have 15 minutes. All right, now Aidan, your summary.
Well, we also made the connection between the chakras and the yogas, and we sort of came up with this one. Karma Yoga was the birth, and then with Hatha Yoga we said maturing through balance, creating solid foundations of strength, so it's like a base yoga, we can get a strong foundation to make it good, like we say before, the cement and stuff. And it sort of correlates with childhood and learning and things like that. And for Bhakti Yoga we said to love yourself unconditionally, and everything else, including God. So you must start with yourself.
Very good point. Very good point.
And this also has more to do with relationships and things, so it starts becoming. With the Yantra Yoga, with worshipping deities, respect for self and others, ritualistic, and the visualization of goals and things. And Mantra Yoga, being mindful of what you're saying, hearing, with sound and vibration to bring you into harmony. We sort of came up with that one, I think. And we only got to Kundalini Yoga because we had a lot of conversation in that group. So, life force of the soul, where breath and life force were moved up and along. So we didn't really come up with the end for that either.
No, that's okay. This is pretty good so far. Yep. And although Tulsi was very hot and trot about the tantric, well, Kailash is into tantric yoga, Yamuna is, and so is Tulsi, because you all make the drops and lotions and motions, don't you? So it is now involved in our yoga in one specific area, but there you are.
Maybe they wanted to skip the tantric because it's to do with sexual control.
That's right. So we saw that all these yogas were to do with the chakras, didn't we? Yeah. So we saw that was quite true. And those chakras are our building blocks. We go from one to the other, but we can't progress until one is balanced and stabilised. So I just wrote quickly down here. So karma is rebirth, etc. That's your birth, or any circumstances. Hatha is, your movement and balance. The imbalance is the bad. The balance is good, or good, bad balance. It's all to do with the balance. Bhakti is relationships. And these relationships are to do with yourself as well as others. Yantra is your rituals and symbols. And every walk body needs rituals and symbols until they have reached a level where they are no longer necessary. And mantra is vibration. Laya is the awakening and maturity of the soul. movement of consciousness governed by desire, negative or positive. So if you look at that, that's really your point of going up or down, regression or progression. And then we saw that the tantric was your lotions and potions, we'll turn that into that for us. But, you know, sexual control and control of senses in general.
I want to get some anyway, we don't want to learn that first thing.
I get so much into your Muladhara yet now, girl. Jnana is, of course, reading and study, development of the discerning faculty. Kriya Yoga is releasing of lifetimes of blockages and aspects of our being. We're moving out of our safe zone. When we come to Aspasa, we know that that is the time when everything comes together, when science and metaphysics meet and we have direct cognition. And direct cognition is this chapter here. And then we have Raj Yoga, which is all the above joined and used together. Which is this chapter here. So, anybody got any questions? I think that was the thing. You all look as if you're worn out and tired now. Tomorrow you'll feel under pressure when I'm not supposed to talk. All right then. Anybody got any questions so far? You're doing well. And now we're not going to stop for a cup of tea. We're going to go straight into pranayama. Can anyone tell me what pranayama means? David, can you tell me what pranayama means?
Life force of the body, is that?
Prana means life force, or the breath, and yama means discipline. We just heard about discipline before. We know that pranayama, Patanjali tells us, is really important. Now, you've got a point. We'll ask you to read that whole segment on the pranayama. But I wanted to emphasize perhaps what isn't in the book, but that is pranayama used not just to breathe, but as a building block. We know that breathing keeps us alive, isn't it? There is, you know, if we can't breathe, we feel like something really bad is going to happen to us. We think we start this flight and fight response, this survival response comes up inside us and we get really panic-stricken if we cannot breathe. And I remember an old yoga teacher telling me once, a happy yoga teacher telling me, you only think about the breath when you haven't got it. Isn't that right? And you start to breathe strangely. Now, I've had a few times when I've been on the road to the other side, one foot in the grave, so to speak, and the thing that changes is the breath. But you know, when you're the one that's doing the breathing, you don't notice it. And I wonder if you do notice if you're breathing correctly or not, just in your everyday life. A lot of us, when we're driving the car, we tend to shallow breathe, don't we? Sit, Maria. And then you sit and you actually cramp the handlebar, driving. There we are. We're hanging on to it like grim death, and then we get the pain here and the pain here, and we go, all of a sudden, isn't that right? And that puts me to wonder why on earth nowadays they're telling the young girls when they're having babies to breathe. It's the stress. That brings stress. It's crazy. So I wanted you to think more about breath as the life force. Now we're going to be doing a cosmology on number 3. It's the third weekend, or the third, whatever it is, it's the third thing. And we're hearing about when the earth began, when the whole creation began. So then we'll be hearing about prana, and we'll hear about acacia. Sometimes I walk around and I maybe I'm at a class or something and I see someone who's a little, we don't have any here today, we all look like we've got this life with both hands. But if you see a frail little girl, woman, and you go near her to breathe and you'll only hear, you know, it's a very soft, quick breath. She doesn't take a good breath, so therefore she hasn't got a good hold on life. And if you talk to that person, you'll find they don't have a good hold on life. There's something, I was going to say hairy fairy, but that's not true. There's something just quite ethereal about these people, as if they're only here for a short time. Then you'll see the ones who are really strong. They've really got it together, isn't it? Well, they are taking prana in. Now, prana is in the breath, but it's the life force. And it is also said by yogis to be not only the life force, but it's the building block. It's the building block. Now, can anyone tell me where your actual life force sits? Base of the spine. That's right. Base of the spine. Now, if you're feeling weak and you're feeling tired and you want to liven yourself up a bit, you can use this pranic energy, as we call it, or this breath, to liven yourselves up. Most of you look like you're going to sleep at the moment, so we'll have to try it, I think. So, because in cosmology, this hits this. This is the vibration. This is the knowledge of the earth. So we'll do it in cosmology, but say this is the ocean of tranquility. This is acacia. There is nothing happening. There is non-manifest. Nothing. But all of a sudden, there becomes a movement. Like this. Movement is prana. This prana there is the movement. It begins to move. And it begins to knock, knock, bash, bash, knock, knock here. So here then you get waves. There's movement. There's plenty of movement. We say that this is then becomes raja. Then when there's full movement, it'll become out of control, become tamas. So it goes from sattvika back again. Then it'll go from tamas back to sattvika again. That's how it goes. When it's clear, it's sattvika. We've got that in our mind? Okay, so then we come across to here. What we've done in the moment is motors running down. Needs a bit of energy. So, I thought because we've only got now about 50 minutes to go on this prana yama segment, I should read that at home, but now we're going to use prana. So now we've got to liven you all up. So I'm going to ask you to sit quietly. You can just sit like this, doesn't matter. Now I'm going to ask you to close off your throat. You all know how to breathe parental breathing, is that correct? Everyone know parental breathing? No. Okay, just before you go to sleep, you know, when you go to sleep and all of a sudden you go, like that, you sort of, and you go, oh, because you thought you were snoring? What you've done is you've closed off the throat a little bit. So now I want you to just breathe normally. Just breathe normally. Don't do the parental breathing. Just breathe normally. Take a few breaths. Can anyone tell me where the breath went? Really tell me where the breath went? Not really sure though, are you? You didn't feel it go there, did you? No. Yeah, you're not sure though. You didn't actually feel it, did you?
Yeah, I can feel it to the throat, after the throat is
There, that's it. You know, because it was cool. See? And then once it's warm, you don't know what's happened to it. Now control it. Close off the back of your throat a little bit. Draw it in. Really. And we'll make a sound. Should be three. In through the nose, out through the nose. doesn't lie. Now can you tell me where it went? Andy, where did the breath go? Did anyone else feel it where it went?
Yeah.
Did you have your throat closed off? Help him. Come on. Yeah, come on. Not Mark. Get up.
Go on.
Help him to get that parental breathing.
I have trouble with that one myself.
Oh, there, look at where you are. You come close to Mark and help him with that parental breathing. Breathe. All right. You get it, Mark?
Yeah, we've got it.
Right, now, what I'm going to ask you to do is to come down and wake up the light force. Like that. I want you to do it only 3 times. So you're going to take it in with the attitude that I am going to become stronger. So, what helps you to become stronger? Pull that in. Tighten it up. And now. Tighten the throat. 3 breaths. Change your attitude. Pushing away all of that tiredness. Feel a bit better than you felt before? Feel like you woke up and pushed away a little bit of that cobwebby tiredness there? Oh, look right. No. So we have a look at the breath, and we know that the breath is active and passive, isn't it? So when we breathe in, it's active, and when we breathe out, it's passive. It sends us relaxation. It releases all the negativities and all the tension and frustration around it. Is that right? You feel that that's what it did to you?
So does that create more negativity?
No. Well, we'll try that out. That was good on my list, but now that you've mentioned it. Has anyone got anything wrong with them? They all, somebody got what, mental illness or what? So has anybody got any ache or pain? Let's put it that way. Yeah? So it's put it in your tummy, so on one side you know exactly where it is. Okay, you know exactly where it is. Now you're going to use your mind together with the pranic energy, and you're going to make it forceful, not active, passive. It'll be active, active. And this is the way that we deal with cancer patients and people who have got illnesses, or if we wanted to direct our healing energy. So we use the power of the breath. So this time, doing the same breathing technique, you're going to breathe in, and as you breathe out, I want you to breathe through that pain and keep doing it until it releases.
What if I'm having aches or pain?
Come here and I'll give you one.
Young bloke.
Well,
I can wait for 60 years. Well, you can just learn by listening. Everybody else being here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. Let's have a few breaths on that, and then open your eyes when you think that you have done what you set out to do. And to keep strong. So how is Anybody else have any success with that? Yeah. Yeah.
Self-stopping when it would go, it would come straight back.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't believe it's actually gone.
Yeah. So now you know that there is an energy in the breath, and this breath is not only used for breathing, but it can be used to aid all sorts of things. Now, to show you how powerful it is, I want you to think about your little toe. Your little toe. You never much think about the little toe. Usually it's the one that's sort of wrapped around something else, or it's not looking too good anyway. But take your sock off and have a look at that little toe and just visualise it. Now you know all about it. You know you needed to cut your toenails before you came. And you know what your little toe looks like. Now visualise it now in your mind. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in as you did before. Become erect, stable, and breathing in. Breathe out through that little toe.
giggles because my co was like a little fountain, just getting rid of all this stuff. So this lovely image of breath going into me and then pouring out through my toe.
What's your name? Yours, yes.
I'll say Linda.
Linda. Linda, did you feel it? Did you connect with your little toe?
I couldn't really. I felt something, but I'm not sure what it was. So I haven't done this sort of breathing before.
You have.
But I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
No, but yeah, it felt different. So
Anyone else connect with your toe? What did it feel like? Yeah, you.
Me? Oh, little tingly.
Leanne, what did yours feel like?
I just feel like it's light going around my head.
And did you able to connect with your toe?
I was sort of like doors and visualizing almost in a stream.
Now you were able to do that with your breathing and your attitude, your mind attitude. And all that we're doing is in the lower part of our mind. We're not doing anything very special. Isn't that amazing? And yet you have such results. Such is the power of your mind and your breath used together. So if we were to heal something, we wanted to heal something, we would do just that. Sometimes you might even be able to see it eventually, because these things, these gifts come to you along the way of clairvoyance, clairaudience, all this sort of stuff. And you might be able to see there's a bit of something dark, or not just a twinge in your side or your knee or something. And so you can use that to push through it and push it away. So I want you to open yourselves out again now and see that the breath is not just for breathing, and it's not just to keep your body erect. It's also for numerous other things. Now what I want you to do, Mandy, is you come and you two sit together a little bit, not too close, but just face each other. Would you like to face each other? Not too close. I'll make that easy. Now what I'd like you to do is you are going to concentrate on her left arm. As you breathe in, you breathe out and breathe into her left arm, and you do the same into her right arm. So did you feel something in your arm? Well, now, is there something you feel in that arm now?
As soon as you said it felt cold, I breathed, I felt the cold. I don't know whether that was copying you or not, but I could feel the coldness.
Well, there was something that went on anyway. Okay, so you see that how much power you have not only for yourself but other people. So you know that now how powerful you really are. So that is a responsibility, isn't it? My granddaughter is, and I were chatting recently, and I said to her, she said, Grandma, please, it should be only 60 miles an hour. And I said, breezy. I said,
Easy peasy.
easy peasy. She says, Grandma, please don't be childish. I'm grown up now. 8. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. So I thought, different tactic here, I'll lose my standing as number 1 grandmother. But I said to her, are you reading all the street names? Oh, she said, yes, I have to. And I said, was it easier when you didn't have this? She said, yes, it's a great responsibility, Grandma. Now I can read, I have to read every sign. Every street number. It's interesting, isn't it? So we can put that into us. Now we know that we have the power. We have the breath, we have the vibration. They come together, the power of our mind, even so just the lower mind at the moment. As we go on with these Samata Samashti Dharmas, I'll show you the power of your, really deep in your mind. But at the moment, this is just surface. And you see you have a responsibility now. And you see that that responsibility isn't limited just to what you say, what you think. It's deeper than that, isn't it? It's how you project as well, because what you were doing were projecting. So this is, like you see, breath is not just breathing. It's everything else. Everything else. So now I want you two to stand up, and I want you to do that big cleansing breath now. So I want you to take the breath from beneath the soles of your feet and take in one breath, and then breathe it out through the soles of your feet again. You've done that in a class?
You want.
Okay, you know how to do it. I want you to do it 3 times on 3 breaths. Right? Right, how do you feel now? Better? Yeah. You too? You feel much better? You know what we've just done? We've cleaned all their energy channels because they have been close to each other and they have been using this powerful mind and breath together. So that after that, it's clean up time. Very important. So they again use the breath to clear the energy channel. You see how breath comes in everything. It's not just breathing. It's everything that we do. And the yogi goes into meditation using the breath. Using that parental breathing to become strong, to be alert. That's how they started off. Right. So important. And every healing, every self-healing, always a yogi uses breath. If you use the breath, you don't always need to use a hand. You see? Because that's only making the person or yourself feel better. Oh, look, I feel really good like that. Well, I do it myself just to heal myself up. Now, there are other ways that you use the breath to heat yourself up and cool yourself down as well. Now, you've had the cooling and breath in your classes, haven't you? And you've had the heating breaths in your classes. You wouldn't want to heat yourself up now at the moment, would you? You'd more wanting to cool yourself down. So do we know how to do that cooling breath? Everyone know? No? It's a very juicy one. It's a saliva. And you have to fold your tongue. Can everyone do that? Oh, you have to make your little channel. Oh, I know. I can't do it.
No, apparently, I couldn't do it either, and I practiced breathing into this for long, right? You get your tongue, you get your fingers, and you actually curl them around and stick them in your when you actually get your tongue and you fold it round, and let it, stick to your teeth inside, and practice like that. Eventually you'll be able to do it. It's quite interesting. Yeah, but it actually, you can learn.
You can just stick your tongue out a little bit and breathing, just the right.
Make a channel. Okay, so get a bit of moisture there, because we need to get the slurpees. So now you're going to breathe in through that channel. Then you will put the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth and breathe out through your nose. when you go, it does it after. When you've completed the breath, you will cool down. Yeah, all over.
Feel it cooling down anyway?
No.
Just from drawing.
Well, you haven't got the right too smooth. Then you've got to learn to try it out. So did everyone feel that that was cooling them down? So you see, these are to be used in your everyday life. There's nothing that you know you can't handle. Nothing you can't handle. You handle everything. You have the means to do it. You just need a little bit of knowledge, and that's what you'll be getting over this year.
Can I share so that healing thing? One day I was in a hurry and I had to drive to Melbourne, and I grabbed the university car and shut, because I wasn't being mindful, closed the door on my finger, and I didn't know, it was really painful, and I didn't have time to stop and use my hand. So I kept driving, but as I drove with my mind, I directed the breath back slowly to my finger. By the time I got maybe 2 kilometres, the bruises started coming out already, and the pain had gone. It was fantastic.
Yes, it can be done. And those of my instructors know that it can be done. I remember a couple of years ago being at my girlfriend's in India, in Delhi. You know the Indians would stick a cupboard. There's a hallway. And all of a sudden this cupboard sticks out in the middle of nowhere, just where the doorway is. So you'd either have to sort of be walking along and then go down on all fours and get past it or something. Nobody ever hit their head. I went straight into it, and it went in here, and it put a hole, and it was so deep that the fluid was coming out of the blood. So she said, we'll have to go to the doctor. No, what's that age? I said, oh, no, I can't see in the moment because it knocked me a bit silly. And I said, guide me to the bedroom and shut the door and don't come in until I come out. Don't do anything. Oh, she was pretty upset. So she took me upstairs. She rang her husband also and asked him what to do. So I went upstairs and I actually knitted my head together with that breath that I've just showed you. And when I came out, her husband came home and he said, well, what's the matter? You already went to the doctor? I can see the stitch marks. I didn't do a very good job. I'd actually taken it together as if it was stitched in about 8 points all the way down here. And then I was able to, which we were teaching you how to heal, then the aura over it, which would also be vacuumed, and so it was healed by the time I got home. Because I thought, no, a day before I'm leaving, I'm not going to the doctor. I'm certainly not going to the hospital, so I'll have to fix it myself. Interesting, isn't it? Because with that knowledge, you see, that breath, pranayama is not only breathing, it's also healing, cooling, warming, does all these things to you and can cleanse all of your energy centers. Now, are there any questions you would like to ask me? Because I'm going to give you yoga nidra before you go.
How do we do this? Warming breath.
The warming breaths will be the pumping. You do the pumping breath, you warm up.
Oh, okay.
Now and that. All the way down. Yep. Heats the body. There are other ways of heating the body where you can take the breath in and then push outside, like burning the outside of the body and make it very hot. If I do that here, I think that would be too much. But it's the same attitude as you take the breath in, you use it, and as you breathe out, you breathe this warming sensation right over your whole. You can do it. All right, now, I suppose you can't lay down, but you can have a go or sit in a chair or something, and I'll give you a nice clean. But while you're doing that, just tell me, is there any more questions before, because you probably won't think about them after. job, and they do that breakfast that really energizes them. Fantastic. And it makes you feel really clean. Really clean. Sorry. Oh, now I'd like you all to stand up. So Okay. Can we have a... In there. No, Kalash is close.
It's all right,
She's
I'm up.
younger.
What do you want me to do?
Polite.